What is up, guys? Today we'll be comparing the LG Velvet to the LG G8. So you can pick the Velvet up for around 400 bucks. I'll put the links down below. That's the cheapest. If you want a brand new, it'll be like, I believe, 500 to 600. If you get the dual screen case as well. The G8 you can find very cheap in the used refurbished market, around 250. I'll have that link down below. And also, we're just going to be looking at the phones themselves. Now, you can pick up the G8X as well if you want that dual screen case. With the G8 you do have that option, but yeah, so we're just going to be looking at the phones themselves today. So let's go ahead and get started with the hardware. So we're looking at two very premium designs, two very different looking phones. Actually, LG went with a completely different look, kind of with the Velvet here. So we have both a glass and metal design on both. They feel really nice in the hand, both of them. The Velvet kind of looks thinner. I don't know if it actually is, but it just has like a tapered kind of look to give it a sort of thinner looking look to it. But on the sides we do have the power button. We do have your volume rockers, Google Assistant button on both sides right here. Down below we have the headphone jack, USB-C. The Velvet has stereo speakers. You just have one speaker on the G8. Now you're missing the quad DAC on the Velvet. The G8 has the quad DAC. If you don't know what that is, it's basically you can get high quality audio with the G8. Now you cannot do that on the Velvet. I'm not sure why they left that out, but they did. And as you can see, the Velvet is just much bigger than the G8 as well. So one of the most interesting things here is the camera module. So as you can see, you have a completely flat camera on the G8, which I really like. Physical fingerprint scanner back here, and on the Velvet it's almost flat. You just have this one lens that's pokes out, but as you can see, it's got like a little descending little camera bump here, which is really cool. So yeah, definitely you can tell this phone apart from pretty much any phone. It just has a kind of a unique look to it. But as far as design, both of these phones look really good. They feel great in the hand as well. Alright, so let's talk about the displays with both of these phones. So on the G8 you have a 6.1 inch POLED display. It's HDR10. It's a 6.1 inch display, 1440p, 564 for the PPI. On the Velvet you have a POLED 6.8 inch. There is no HDR10, 1080p, 395 for the PPI. Basically, it's kind of a mixed bag here. So it depends on what you're looking for in a smartphone. So I like the G8's display a little bit better as far as the color reproduction, and overall it is a sharper display. Now it's not super noticeable. If you watch a video of 1440p and you look at them side by side, you can slightly tell more detail, just a little bit. It's not really a big difference. I think a normal person would notice, and overall the icons and stuff look a little bit sharper on the G8, but again, you have to be like looking close up, so I don't think a normal person would really notice. And blacks are a little bit deeper on the G8 as well. So overall I think the G8 quality wise, I think it's still a better looking display to me. Now the thing that the Velvet has is it's got the little wider drop notch. As you can see, you have a much bigger notch on the G8. And also it's a massive display, so if you want a big display, the Velvet is just huge, and it's still very high quality for such a big display. So that is something that I really like. So again, it comes down to personal preference, which one you prefer. They both are honestly really great displays, but again, it depends. Do you want something a little more compact, or do you want something that's bigger? Alright guys, let's talk about the specs a little bit more. So on the G8 we have Android 10 with LG skin on top of it, the Snapdragon 855, Adreno 640, micro SD support, 128 gigs of storage and 6 gigs of RAM. On the Velvet we have the Snapdragon 765G, Adreno 620, micro SD support, 128 gigs of internal storage and 6 gigs of RAM. So let's go ahead and get started. Speed test. Open LG.com. Look like the Velvet got it there. YouTube, pretty much a tie there. Let's do Instagram, Velvet. So not a huge difference in performance. Again, Velvet. So as you can see, this new chip, or the chip in the Velvet, is really not that bad. It's actually very fast. Now, graphic performance, the Snapdragon 855 should perform better. So that was pretty much a tie. So let's go ahead and check that out now. I'm pretty sure you should get better graphics on the 855 still. Let's see how this loads it up. And I couldn't even tell. It looked like a tie because I got this cut screen right here. Alright, we're in on both devices. Let's go ahead and check out the graphics in PUBG. And on the G8 we have HDR, extreme frame rates, and we can only go up to HD on the Velvet. So as we can see, big graphic and FPS difference here with the Snapdragon 855 or the Adreno 640 GPU. So as you can see, just gaming is going to be way smoother on the G8. Yeah, I can tell the difference immediately. Actually, it's just the G8 is really smooth. The Velvet, it's not like laggy, but you know, when you're playing games that have a higher frame rate versus a lower one, you can tell the difference. But they're both playable. Yeah, that's just butter smooth. So again, the G8 is going to be the better gaming device by a lot here. Better graphics, better performance. So let's go ahead and talk about some additional features here. So with the G8, you do get an IP rating, IP68, dust and water resistant, and you also get that on the Velvet. You have the same IP68, dust and water resistant. Like I said, no hi-fi quad DAC on the Velvet, which kind of sucks. Both of these phones have NFC for mobile payments. And let's go ahead and check out these speakers, and then we can check out the fingerprint scanner. Alright, so again, stereo versus just one speaker on the G8. Let's go ahead and hear them side by side. So the Velvet, of course, is louder, but you get quite a bit of distortion a little bit with the Velvet at max volume. So that is something I'm noticing. You're not hearing that as much as on the G8, but the Velvet is much louder. But both speakers sound pretty good. If you're in a loud environment, you'll be able to hear these speakers no problem. Now let's talk about getting into the phone. So on the G8 you have two options. You have your fingerprint scanner, which works flawlessly, very fast, very reliable. You also have your face unlock on here, which is actually very good on the G8. So as you can see there. Now on the Velvet you have the cooler option, I guess, but it has its sort of cons too, because you have the fingerprint scanner, which to me works fine. Again, it's not like the fastest fingerprint scanner in the world, but it gets the job done. I've never had like an actual issue with it. But there's no face unlock on the Velvet, so you don't have that option to be able to unlock with your face. So that kind of sucks. So I think the G8, you know, automatically wins in that department of just getting into your phone. But again, it depends, because I really love on-screen fingerprint scanners. I think they look really cool. And yeah, so again, you have that more options on the G8 here. Alright, so let's talk about the cameras in Just to give you guys a straightforward answer, because I know someone's gonna ask. Starting with the G8, I prefer the G8's cameras over the Velvet because it's something up with the software with like macro shots on the Velvet. But as you can see, 12 megapixel standard on the G8, 16 megapixel ultra wide 4K video, 30 or 60 FPS. You also get a front-facing camera that's 8 megapixels at 1080p. As you can see, very nice photos, very true to life image processing from LG on the G8. You also have very good depth of field. The ultra wide camera keeps a good amount of detail as well. And yeah, I just love the cameras on the G8. They give off some really nice vibrant colors, plenty of detail, and yeah, usually does not really struggle that much in terms of any situation that I put it in. Now you also get pretty solid video on the G8 as well, which is really nice. And yeah, just super solid cameras here. And you can also throw Gcam on this phone as well. So going to the Velvet, you have actually triple camera setups at 48 megapixel standard, 8 megapixel ultra wide, and a 5 megapixel depth sensor. You get 4K video and a 16 megapixel selfie at 1080p. So basically, you lose a little bit of detail when I'm looking at them side by side with the ultra wide camera. The standard shooter on the Velvet is fine. It looks really good, and the depth sensor, I don't know what it is, but when I get close up to shots like with this leaf, I lost a ton of detail that I didn't lose on the G8, and I'm thinking that is 100% software problem because I got in on another subject and I didn't lose the details. So I don't know what's up with the software, but kind of like it's a little finicky. But you also have a really good selfie camera on here as well. So the Velvet's cameras are really good. The video is pretty solid as well. So I don't have any issues with it. I just think it needs a software update. But yeah, two very solid cameras on here. Alright, so let's talk about the battery situation. You have a 3,500 milliamp battery on the G8, 21 watt fast charging and 9 watt wireless charging. On the Velvet, you have a 4,300 milliamp battery, 25 watt fast charging and 9 watt wireless charging. So both of these phones are pretty similar in battery performance. I usually can get through the day no problem with both of these phones. Screen on time, you're probably looking at around 7 to 8 hours of screen on time, which again is very good. The Velvet does charge a little bit faster than the G8 as well. But overall battery performance is going to be great. Again, if you're on 5G on the Velvet, then it could be a completely different story. You could get much worse battery life, but I don't have 5G in the area, so I couldn't tell you. But yeah, two very solid phones. So which one do you guys prefer? Be sure to let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.